lovely people of the internet, and welcome to Potter Park Zoo. This is actually my local zoo. I haven't gone very far afield, but I really, really, really love this zoo. We have a membership. My husband and I have a membership to this zoo, and right now I am standing in what is my absolute favorite exhibit. I keep telling myself that I'm going to come to this exhibit and I'm going to sit down on the bench, which is just over here, which I will show you guys, and just sit and knit for a little while. The problem right now is that, first of all, it's winter, so I did actually come a little bit better prepared, and I have my mittens and a hat and a scarf this time, so I am not quite as frigid as I was in the last time I did one of these episodes. But yeah, so this is the elk exhibit, and at the moment, none of the elk are out and about because the zoo closes at 4 o'clock and it is about 3:40 right now. So all of the animals are kind of being like lured in with food and everything. But the exhibit itself is really, really huge, and it's really beautiful. It used to be the moose exhibit, but then very sadly both of the moose passed away. But since then they have brought in the elk, and I just love them. They're such beautiful creatures, and I suppose probably the reason that I like elk and moose is because they remind me a lot of reindeer, which of course is very Christmassy, which is very on brand. Anyway, this is the my favorite exhibit. I have taken a little bit of footage of some of my other favorite exhibits, which is all of them, honestly, just all of them. I unfortunately was not able to get any footage of the rhino, which is another one of my favorite exhibits here, specifically here at Potter Park Zoo, because they have two, you can't see, two black rhinos, a male and a female, that they have actually gotten to breed. And Jolly was born in December of 2019, and he has been moved already to another zoo. I say already, but and they are hoping that Dopsy and Phineas, the two that mated to make Jolly, they're hoping that they'll breed again, but it's part of the ongoing effort to restore the black rhino population. And I'm really, really, really proud that my local zoo is part of something like that. So I really love looking at that exhibit. And I keep up to date on all the news on the zoo in case there are any other new pregnancies, especially with the rhinos, but with some of the other animals as well. For example, they just had some red panda cubs, and some new otter pups were born about a year ago now. But as I said, the zoo is closing in about 20 minutes, so this is not my final destination. I was not about to lug in all of my knitting into the zoo and just get in the way of everybody. I will be sharing with you everything that I've been working on this past 3 weeks now. I do hope you guys enjoyed that vlog, by the way. I kept trying to make time to get here or to another park somewhere in Michigan, and it was either the weather or my body were just not working with me, because either I was way too tired to go or in just a really foul mood, and I don't want to record for you guys when I'm in a really bad mood because that's no fun, or it was raining or super, super cold or whatever. So I'm finally here. It's the only nice day this week. But yeah, I will see you guys in a moment. Hey there! So, this is Editing Emma, just popping in here before we get to the main part of the episode, because I need to warn you guys that the audio quality for this section of the video is not the best. I have spent hours, literal hours, trying to fix this audio, and believe it or not, this is the best that I could do. So it sounds a little bit tinny, sounds a little bit muffled, and every once in a while you'll hear some crackling or some popping, and I have done absolutely everything that I can to try and fix that. I will definitely do better with the recording the audio for the next episode. But I had a really, really fun time recording this video, so I hope that you guys enjoy it. Hello again, lovely people of the internet, and welcome to the NovelTea Knitting Podcast. Don't know if you're going to be able to catch it, because my mic is right next to my mouth, but the geese behind me are being so loud. So if any of that gets picked up, it's not my fault. I cannot control the geese. As much of a cool superpower as that would be, because I don't know anyone that's not at least a little bit afraid of geese, because they're terrifying. I was actually getting set up here, and I saw, like, a couple geese, like, in the distance. By in the distance, I mean, like, less than 100 yards away, and they were, like, honking very loudly. They were being very noisy, and they were kind of looking in my direction, kind of walking this way, and I was like, oh god, what am I gonna do if I get attacked by geese? Because like, I'm not interfering with them necessarily, but I could see them just, like, wanting this space and being annoyed that I'm here. In which case, there's nothing I can do about that, because if the geese want this spot, the geese are gonna get this spot. But it does not seem like it's going to be a problem. They ended up getting into the water farther down the river, which, by the way, I still am in Potter Park. I am just not in Potter Park Zoo. So this is the Grand River behind me, which is the main river that runs through Lansing, Michigan. It actually weaves its way through a good chunk of lower Michigan. But, okay, let's get to the knitting. I did make a very small mistake because I was so proud of myself because I brought these mittens, which I am very proud of these mittens. I absolutely love these mittens. I am planning on making some for family and or friends. These came in a kit, so all these colors came in a kit. I can't remember who the kit is by or who the pattern is by, but I will put it up on the screen. And I lined them with some alpaca, which I was very pleased to note that there were alpaca in the zoo. I wasn't sure, I knew that there was one of them, but I couldn't remember if they were llamas or alpacas, and they are in fact alpacas. Anyway, it was actually like a really, really light, either a light fingering weight to a lace weight alpaca. I have no idea when or why I bought it anymore, but I had it in my stash and I was like, yeah, that'll make a good lining for mittens, and oh my gosh, has it. There have been days where I've been out walking the dogs and it will be well below freezing and my hands will be too warm because of these wonderful mittens. The problem is that I brought these mittens, but I did not bring a pair of gloves. And so I think that I'm probably going to have to take off the gloves, or the mittens at several points in order to, like, finesse some of this. We'll see, though. I mean, obviously time will tell, but already this is I mean, maybe I'm better at this than I'm thinking I'm going to be. Okay, so the first project, as ever, is my Ena sweater, which is coming along swimmingly. Obviously, there has been a lot of progress with the Ena. I finished the body, and I did the ribbing at the bottom. Now, there are several things that I need to talk about with this. First of all, this is the smallest thing and the least important, is I did use all of my stitch marker collection on this. You can hear them all jingle together. I really swear that I thought that my collection was bigger than this, but apparently not. Now I will finally get to take them off of this project, because what I was doing was I was waiting until I did this recording to take these off because I don't really need them. It's just a cool marker for how much I was able to get done each day. And you can tell there's like a clear point where I was like, yep, I can see that I'm almost done with this and I would like to finish it, because the jump from this stitch marker, this wooden one down here at the bottom, oh, the gloves. The next stitch marker is significant, whereas I was barely making my 5 rows, my daily 5 rows, like all through here. By the time I got to the end, I was just, actually, I think that part of it is that I was just getting better at, or have been getting better at sitting down and really concentrating on the work. And also, and this is the big part really, is I was getting distracted by my phone constantly. I don't know if anyone else experiences this specifically. I know that being addicted to your phone or like feeling the need to check your phone constantly is definitely like a very common problem nowadays. But what I mean is I would get this like genuine like feeling in the back of my skull where it just like, it feels like a little bit of a push, and that push is saying you need to pick up your phone, you're bored. Not that, like, I think I'm going to have any notifications or anything like that. It's just my brain is saying, you're bored, get a dopamine hit. And I have been working really hard in, like, the last week or so to deny that urge rather than, like, giving into it. And it has not been easy. I need to get my mitten back on. The absolute relief of putting these on is tangible. So warm, and it holds the warmth for so long that like I had it off for that time I was talking, which was not that long, but you know, I mean, gloves would cool down in that amount of time, but I put it back on and it's just like encapsulated heat. Anyway, so I've been battling my own brain in order to get this done, to get any knitting done really. Anything that is not specifically on my phone has been a struggle, but I finished the body and I almost ran out of yarn before I got to the recommended length for the body. Let me show you how much I had left. This is how much I had left of this yarn. That was 2 3/4 of a skein, not 2, 1 3/4 of a skein that I thought was going to last me a lot longer, and I was so wrong. I thought that I was going to be able to, like, at least get some of it onto the sleeves, but there was no way. On top of that, I can quite easily see where the skein shift was. It's hard to hold it up for you guys. Actually, I will try and indicate it in the video so that I'm not trying to like hold it and point. But yeah, so you can fairly easily tell where I switch skeins. I know, like, this is common knowledge that you're supposed to alternate skeins when you're using hand-dyed yarn, it is hand-dyed yarn. And I just blanked on that completely. They're so similar. Like, the 2 skeins looked so close that I didn't even think about it. And so there is a little bit of a difference there. I can definitely tell, but I actually don't mind it. I think it's actually kind of cool, especially because it variegates light. It's like a lighter gray in it, marbled in it, which goes well with the ribbing at the bottom. So now, let's talk about the sleeves. This sweater has turned into so much of a bigger project than I expected it to. That's not even exactly right. It's just that I've had to be a lot more creative with my yarn with this than I ever expected. So I do have 1 skein left of the gray, which is good because I think I'm going to need to use that on the cuffs. But I was planning on using this just for the entire sleeves now, this navy or like cobalt blue. This is the end of this skein. I have finished this skein. I have a total of 3, so this was the first one gone. Now I'm at a crossroads because I have several options, and I can do like a combination of some of these options. So I can knit half of the next skein and see where that gets me, which would be about another, I did the math, if I do another 35, or probably I'll do less just to make sure, but if I do another 35 rows with the next skein, then I should have another 35 like, to go with, that I can add to it when I do the next sleeve. So it would be 1.5 skeins per sleeve. The only problem with that is that I do not think it's going to be quite long enough. I think that it's going to get probably to the point where it would be fine for most people. The problem with that is not where I like my sleeves to land. I like them long. Like, this sleeve goes down to at least the, like, second or third knuckle, and it's very important to me that the sleeves are very long. If they're too short, I will, like, just pull them up, and I cannot do 3/4 length sleeves, because everything about that makes me not like it. That didn't make any sense. 3/4 length sleeves are just not in my wheelhouse. I am making these bishop sleeves, so this uses a lot of yarn. Bishop sleeves use more yarn than regular sleeves because you're not doing any decreasing. So that idea of using just the 1.5 skeins, that is part 1 of whatever combination I'm going to be doing. So I might include that, or I might not. I have tried to find some of this online, and I have not been able to find any. So I can use, what I have left, I have this much left of the gray and another skein. Once I do 1.5 skeins of the blue, I probably have enough of this gray that I could do like a couple more inches plus the cuff. But it's not a guarantee, so that's one option. The other option is I could use this gray. This is another DK weight gray that I have in my stash. It is not the same color gray, not, like, it's so close, but this is slightly bluer, and this one has more of like a yellowy green tint to it, and you can really tell when they're right next to each other, which they will be, because I'm not exactly going to be like ripping out what I've done with this just so that this will match. That leads me to the rest of this, which is I could use this. This would definitely be enough that I wouldn't have to use my third skein, so I wouldn't have to use 1.5 of the blue on each sleeve. I would just use the one, and then I would switch to this. And I could do that and do that with this, or I could do it with this held double. So this is what I had planned on making my whole sweater out of in the first place, or the rest of the sweater out of in the first place. I wish, in retrospect, I wish that I had thought to hold this double before I did all of this, because I feel like I would have gotten a lot closer. I probably would have at least been able to do the sleeves, if not the ribbing, out of this, if I just held it double. But it's fine. It's fine. And then I also have a bunch of this Knit Pick Swish DK. This is technically earmarked for another sweater, but I have quite a lot of it. This is what I used for the cuff and the collar for my Schnee cardigan. My thing with this, using this, even though it is technically supposed to be used on a different sweater, if I run out of this, this is extremely easy to purchase. This is Knit Picks. Like, I can place an order and it'll be at my house in a week. And if I want to get the free shipping, I can reach out to my friends in my knitting club and everything and be like, hey, do you need anything from Knit Picks? And there's almost always someone that wants something. That being said, the last time I got a communal order from Knit Picks, I took so long to deliver it to people. I felt so bad about this because either I would forget to bring it, we wouldn't be at the meeting, or they would not be there when I did remember to bring it. So it just took me forever to get that yarn to them, and they probably aren't going to put up with that again. So I have these 3 yarns that I am working with. I think probably, just looking at it, I'm going to say the gray is out. I hope everyone can agree with me. If you think that I've made the right choice in immediately chucking this one out of the running, then let me know in the comments down below. So that leaves me with these 2. I'm not really happy about either, and this sweater is so aggressively color blocked. There are so many, where it's just a chunk in a different color. And at first it looked really intentional, and it is slowly looking less and less intentional. which is because it is very unintentional. My instincts are definitely telling me to go with a Swish DK because I know that I like this. I like this around my wrists specifically. I think that it'll complement the navy blue the best, and it will be the most comfortable. It's a very, very soft wool, is it wool? What is it? Yes, 100% superwash merino wool. So very, very soft. It's really lovely. It's squishy like the name says, and I think it will look quite good with the blue. I am a little bit frustrated that I'm going to have to use it because, again, I had this other sweater that I really, really want to knit out of it. And I have been meaning to knit this sweater. It's the Senja by the same people who designed the Banff, which is Blue Mouse Knits. Is it Blue Mouse? I think it might be just the Blue Mouse. Anyway, so now I've just worked this out on the podcast, live on the podcast. I figured out exactly what I'm going to do. Okay, so it's going to be the Swish DK. Now, the only thing that I really need to decide, and I'm going to let you guys help me make this choice. I am not going to knit on this until I get some comments. Should I knit another half skein in the navy blue and then just knit an inch or two in this and then also knit the cuffs in this? Or should I start with this right off the bat? Should I just have that extra skein of the blue in my stash and use this? Because I have like tons of skeins of this, so I have plenty of this to work with. Do I make this burgundy chunk a bit longer, or do I keep it as short as possible? And do I knit the cuffs in the Swish DK, or do I knit it in the gray? Because I have enough of the gray, definitely, to do the cuffs. Or I can do them in the Swish DK. Let me know what you guys think to help me make this choice. Moving on to basically the only other project that I've been working on for like 3 episodes. But this one is completed, so I won't be talking about this anymore after this episode. I have finished this baby blanket. I say that I'm finished with this, but I do have some ends to weave in. That being said, it's only like 5 or 6 ends, which is really, really good for me because that means that I have been weaving in my ends as I go, which I definitely have been doing. Like I would do 4 or 5 stripes, and then I would weave in all of the ends for those few stripes, so that I was only doing like at most 10 at a time instead of finishing this with all these stripes and having to weave in absolutely everything. That being said, it's a little bit easier with crochet than it tends to be for me, at least with knitting. And now there's a train going by. Well, if you can hear that, I'm sorry. Quite a bit easier to weave in ends as you go with crochet, like weave them into the work. I think, at least, that's what I tend to do. And maybe there are some crocheters out there that can tell me how they weave in most of their crochet ends, because I see these projects that have constant color changes, like these little flowers where you make the flowers first and then you crochet around them, but all the flowers, like the petals, are a different color than the center, and then the outer border is a different color. And how do you weave in all those ends? Like, where do you put them? Does it take a while? Please let me know in the comments down below. Genuinely, I really want to know, crocheters, what is up with your end weaving in. Please teach me your magic, because I really, really want to make one of those types of blankets where, like, you have the flowers, where you have lots and lots of different colors of yarn that you're using, because you're making lots of colors, like different colored flowers. Or there's one that my husband's father made, and it sits in the room that my husband and I use when we visit, and it's there as like just an extra blanket or whatever. But every time I see it, I want it. Like, I would never ask for it. I would never be like, I really love this blanket, will you give it to me? But I want it, so I want to make it. So I'm gonna have to ask him how to make it, which I'm sure he would be more than happy to show me. But it's the ends, weaving in the ends, that is really gonna get me. Anyway, once again, back to the blanket. It is really, really big. I mentioned last episode that this was bigger than I intended it to be. It is several feet large. I don't know if that means it'll be okay to use as a stroller blanket, or like, I know that there are all these different things like car seat blanket size and all this, and now I'm using this just as a lap blanket right now. I think this is actually lap blanket size because it fits really well like on the width of my lap, and it goes down to about the floor, with covering my lap really well. So in the future, blankets that are not for my own baby, which that is not an announcement, but blankets that are not for like me and my husband specifically will not be this big. Not even close. In the future, I will be putting quite a bit less effort. That being said, this was still a really easy project. I got it done way faster than I needed to. I've got another 3 weeks, 2.5 weeks, I think, before the baby shower, so I'm golden there. That just means that I have more time to cast on other things. Not for this baby. This is all that I am and crafting for this particular baby. Moving from that blanket onto another blanket so that I can continue to keep myself a little bit warmer here. Progress on my scrappy blanket. I almost can't believe it has been so long since I've worked on this, and I love it so much. The juxtaposition between like this section here, which is all yarn from a Homespun House advent calendar, which is all very bright colors, lots of pinks, purples, all of that, and then what I actually use tends to be a lot more brown. A lot of these aren't necessarily ones that I have actively used. I do also just buy mini skeins specifically for this blanket, which, can I just say, I know that this is kind of a scrappy blanket. It also, for me, is kind of a memories blanket almost, because I have some stuff in here that is like, some of it was given to me by knitting club members, some of it, like this chunk here from like the black and white and red, that, and to the end of this magic skein actually is all stuff that I bought the last time I was at the Chicago Fiber Festival. Can't remember the exact name of it, but I will put it on the screen. So when I do buy mini skeins, like, there's a reason for it, or there's like some memory behind it. But that being said, this is going to end up essentially being the most expensive thing in my entire house by the time I'm done with this. Even if you just count like the amount that I'm using from the skeins, like if I buy a $26 skein of yarn and I have like 20 grams left at the end, then that's a couple rows on this. I mean, 20% of $26. So, yeah, it's gonna be, and this, like this whole section here that was the, advent calendars, that was a solid probably $150, $180, something in that range. So, it's gonna be a very, very, expensive blanket. But it is a very, very beautiful blanket, and you can see just how much I got done. I think I only wanted to get done, or committed to getting done 2 or 3 rows, and I have got more than that, and I'm so very pleased with that. So I think I've got, let's see, let me count, 1, 2, 3, had 9 or 10 rows done here. So from this little pin button here, I have gotten quite a bit done, and it's really beautiful, and I just love working on it. It's so cuddly and cozy. It is everything that I wanted it to be, and I'm just gonna keep going on it. Hopefully I will have another episode, or another update on it for you in the next episode, but if not, just know that it is now, like it used to be that the basket that I had it in, this one here, was just kind of in the corner in my studio, and it had stuff on top of it and everything, but now it is by the couch in the living room. So I'm definitely more conscious, more aware that it's a project that I can work on, so I think that I will be getting more of it done. That is it for fiber content, but I am going to keep this blanket on my lap, if you don't mind. I did actually have a couple of sewing accomplishments that I am very proud of, that are very small and very silly and probably quite meaningless to a lot of people, but I'm extremely proud of them, so I'm going to tell you about them anyway. The yoga pants that I am wearing currently, I did not make them, but I was inspired by hemming them, which is what I did do. I was inspired by hemming them to look up and see if I could find a pattern for yoga pants, because they just use like a stretchy like jersey fabric type of material or something. So I thought I could probably find that if I could find a pattern to make yoga pants, which I did. Hopefully there will be homemade yoga pants in my future, because I would love to be able to make yoga pants from whatever pattern fabric I can find, rather than right now all I have is black and gray. And that's fine and everything, it's just that the black especially tends to fade quite quickly, and it stops looking very nice, and especially if I make them homemade, I can probably do some nicer looking fabric, so that even if it's like a texture and a stretchiness that I like, that is comfortable for me, I can wear it to nicer things. Not necessarily to a wedding, but I can just, I suppose, feel a little bit better, like I'm at least putting in a little bit more effort. You can find leggings in loads of colors, loads of prints, all kinds of... People keep riding by on bicycles, but I just don't like leggings. So hopefully I can make some fun patterned, boot-cut yoga pants. But I am extremely, extremely proud that I actually got around to hemming. I had 2 pairs of yoga pants that have actually been in need of hemming, I kid you not, for 2 to 3 years. I bought these yoga pants absolutely ages ago, but I never really needed them. But you know how when things start to go, they like to go all at once? So my yoga pants, I had like 5 pairs that I cycled through, and they were starting to get a little bit worn. I definitely had 1 pair that was my like stay-at-home yoga pants, because they have like a couple big holes in the leg. But those are my favorite yoga pants, so I'm never getting rid of those. But then I had a pair of yoga pants that had just like a small hole in them, and so I was like, okay, I'll just use these as my painting pants. My husband and I repainted most of the rooms in our house, so those got covered in paint. And of course, as soon as I did that, I also found a hole in my yoga pants, and it was in a place that you do not want a hole in your pants. And it was really obvious, and it was not fixable. So I had to throw those out. Those are the first pair of yoga pants I've thrown out in a very long time. Hello.
Hello.
I am.
About what?
Knitting, mostly. So I finally... Quite the interlude. So I finally got my sewing machine set up on the dining room table, and I just went ahead and I finally hemmed these pants, and now I've been able to add 2 new pairs to my collection. I did buy another new pair, so I still have to hem those, but my sewing machine is set up, and it's not hiding in my studio. Again, it's not hiding in my studio, so it's something that I'm consciously thinking about. And because it's set up, and because I don't have to like go through all that effort again, I do think that I'm going to be sewing more. To that end, I already have, because I actually used the buttonhole maker feature on my sewing machine for the very first time, and I am so unbelievably proud of myself for that, because it took me like an hour of reading through the instructions on my sewing machine, fiddling with the sewing machine. I was sewing a new buttonhole onto one of the dog coats that we have, because the Velcro had completely wasted away into nothing. So I decided to replace the Velcro with a button instead. And this was a lesson for me in testing things not on the fabric that you intend to ultimately use. This would have gone so much faster if I had just practiced on a bit of scrap fabric first and figured out what I was doing on the scrap fabric, because I came to find out after fiddling with it for so long and 2 false starts where I tried using the machine to do it and it just wasn't working and I couldn't figure out what I was doing wrong. So I have these 2 like extra bits of like threading that I cannot take out, because the point of a buttonhole is supposed to be very secure, and so it just hasn't been worth it to pick out the thread. So I still got all of that, and I spent all this time, and it turned out that the fabric that I was using, or the fabric that the dog coat was made out of, was just not very kind to my machine. It wasn't letting the machine auto feed. So the buttonhole is automatic. I finally took a piece of scrap fabric and tried it out on the scrap fabric, and it worked perfectly on the scrap fabric, and it was so easy. All I know is that after I tried it on the scrap fabric, I managed to get it to work on what I actually wanted it to work on, and it's absolutely perfect, and I have pictures of it because I posted it on Instagram because I was so proud of myself. Oh, but I think that is a nice, happy note to end on. So I'm going to leave it there. Before you head out, please make sure to like the episode, comment down below, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And I will see you all in the next episode. Bye!